Hello, fellow Earthlings of America, or Europe, or Asia. I don't know where you're from. Hello. We're to go to Boston Billiards today and play some 2-5 no-limit hold'em. But poker is not the only gamble we're going to be taking today. I'm going to get a haircut at Great Clips, because no other barbershop is open right now. So, Lord Jesus Christ, help me. Bless up for the one time. Hopefully this barber kills it. I got to fade the sides, chop up the top. How bad can it possibly be?
Snip, snip, bitch!
I feel like a German Shepherd because every time I touch my hair, I'm going to shed it for the next 3 weeks or at least until I shower. Maybe 3 hours. I'm dramatic. But the point of the story is, scuffed or saved? Let me know. I walked into the shop and the person at the front desk looked exactly like my grandma. Same hairstyle, even her aura. It was such a warm, bubbly, nice aura. She's like, "Hi, honey, welcome to Great Clips." And I was like, "Oh, yo, what's up, grandma?" As soon as I sat down in the chair, I was like, "Could I do a skin fade on the side?" And she's like, "Yeah, perfect, no worries." She takes out the razor, zoom, all of it in one go. I was like, "Jesus Christ, lady, what the hell did you just do to my hair?" And I turned to my side. I was like, shit's kind of clean, no cap. You got this, grandma.
We are back at my favorite home game. We're playing 2-5-10 no limit hold'em, and this one is my favorite vlog so far. Starting off the night, this bozo raises to 20 bucks, and the cutoff calls. In most cases, I have a great candidate to 3-bet, but considering the raise came from early position, I just decided to call and evaluate a flop. Flop comes king, 8, 5, 2 hearts. Surprisingly, action checks around, and the turn comes as 7 of diamonds. So we now have a pair and a flush draw, and this board favors my range over the pre-flop raiser's range. So I bet $40 and only Justin calls. The river is above average. It's the 6 of diamonds. We river the backdoor nut flush. I would love to get a check raise in here, but there's a 4-liner on board, and against his opening range, I think he's just going to have 10s, jacks, queens, maybe just a king here. So it's an easy check back in most cases, and I don't want this to get checked through. With all that being said, I bet $125. Justin thinks about it for a little bit, and folds. Still nice to take down the first pot of the night. If you've never done drugs and wondered what it's like, fear no longer. I'm about to give you the acid experience. We're going to bump this bitch up to 3 boards simultaneously. It gets pretty confusing, so try to follow along. There's an open, I 3-bet, he folds. Second hand, I open, he folds. Third hand, an open to 30, a call, I 3-bet to 150, everyone folds. Really advanced stuff, guys. The awkward thing about this vlog is we watched my last episode on the TV while we were playing, so they all see my cards and my thought process. So it's like, oh, you're 3-betting King Jack off? Okay, pussy, 4-bet. And now I'm just gonna have to fold. In that last hand with Ace 10, I 3-bet Timmy. Some interesting table talk ensues when he wanted to know what I had.
What did you have that in?
Aces.
You did? Yeah?
Huh?
Okay.
I had 2 cards.
Yeah.
I did have 2 cards, that's for sure.
I'll see you. It's on next week.
Tim called my bluff, and he's now watching this. I'm gonna blur it. You don't fucking know what I have, pussy. Interesting enough, as you saw, in that hand, we picked up kings on the button. There's a straddle with 3 limps, so I raised it up to $75, and again, everyone folds. So we're picking up a lot of hands early, but not getting action quite yet. Not to worry, as only a minute later, we look down at pocket 8s. Alright. Let's go. I put a worm on my fishing rod in the form of $35 and 3 fish call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop, which comes 6, 3, 2. 2 diamonds. Checks to me. There will be a lot of times where I check this back, but 4 ways I don't want to give anyone a free card, especially with so many draws out there. I size up and bet 60% of the pot. Only small blind calls with around 300 behind. The turn is an interesting one. It's the 3 of spades. This is a dicey card as any 5 now makes a straight, but the small blind checks it over to me again. This particular player, I wouldn't expect him to check any straight, and I think it's a lot more likely that he has a flush draw. We're still ahead of 6-7, pocket 7s, and any flush draw. We obviously lose 2 sets and the obvious straight, but considering he only has around 300 behind, I'm just never folding here, considering we're still ahead of a lot. So I go ahead and jam it all in. We didn't get snap called, so that's pretty great. Considering he didn't snap it, I now want to call because I think our original assessment is accurate and that he is just on a flush draw. After hemming and hawing for about a minute, the small blind decides to fold. I'm happy with that result, as we don't have to sweat a river, and we take down a nice sizable pot still early on in the session.
An hour goes by, we open 5-6 hands, whiff everything, lose $150. It's great stuff.
Moving on, we have pocket nines in the small blind. The low jack opens to $35. Since I'm out of position, I size up 4x to $140. The low jack doesn't think too long before making the call. The flop comes jack 8 deuce. Not a horrible flop, as we're still ahead of ace king, ace queen, and king queen. So I continue with a bet of $130, and he calls. The turn is phenomenal. It's the 10 of hearts. This is a great card for multiple reasons. Number one, we turn an open-ended straight draw, so if we are behind, we have additional outs. And number two, if we are behind, there are now much more hands my opponent loses to. For instance, if he has queens, he's losing to aces, kings, which we can still have, and now additionally, he's losing to sets of jacks and tens. So if queens are in this position, he is hating life. He only beats ace-king in pocket nines. My opponent shouldn't have aces or kings because he didn't 4-bet pre-flop, but even if he slow-played it, he now loses to jacks and tens. So it's a great card for me. This is the same soldier that tanked in the pocket ace hand, so I decide to blast a fucking missile in the form of an all-in jam. Again, we don't get snap called, so that's always a good sign. And additionally, the low jack is in a lot of pain.
Annoying his
Initially, I wasn't sure if I wanted a call or a fold, but hearing this, it's pretty clear that my opponent has king-queen suited. I'm not positive, but I think the equity is 70-30 in my favor. I know it looks really pretty, straight draw, flush draw, but there's only one card to come, so I'm certainly rooting for a call.
I may have. Nice.
Nines are good? What the fuck is going on right now?
I'm really happy with how I played this hand, but honestly, I just got really lucky with the perfect turn card, and it was a clean run out, so it could have easily gone the other way. After that double up, our stack is over $2,000. Let's see if we can continue to run it up. In this next hand, we are under the gun +1, and we look down at king-queen offsuit. I open it up to $30 and get 3 callers. The flop comes ace-ace-5. So, alright. We completely whiff, but I decide it's worth a stab, just in case no one else has an ace or really anything going on. But when Justin calls, I decide to shut it down. So when the turn is the 2 of hearts, I check, and Justin bets $55, and I quickly fold. Since king-queen worked out so well for us, why don't we do it again in the very next hand? I open to $30, and this time the cutoff calls. The flop comes king-jack-5, 2 diamonds. I continue for a third of the pot, and he calls. The turn is the 4 of spades. This is a brick turn card, which means it changes absolutely nothing, and when that's the case, if we're ahead on the flop, then we're most likely still ahead on the turn. There's still a lot of draws out there, like queen-10 or a flush draw, so I size up this time to the tune of $80, and once again, he calls. The river's a great one. It's the 2 of hearts, so all of the draws miss. I check it to induce a bet, and the cutoff does not fail. He fires out a bet of $100. We snap call, and he shows a 4, which it's not good. Sorry, Timmy. We take this one down. Next, we have ace-king offsuit. We 3-bet. Everyone folds. Fun game. We pick up free money. I looked at it pocket 4s under the gun. I decide to limp in. I should normally fold this, but it's a pocket pair. I like to set mine. Sue me. Justin makes it $35, and only I call. The flop comes jack 7-3. I check it over to him, and he checks it back. The turn is another jack, which makes it much less likely that he has one. So I check again, and Justin leads out for $40. I'm still beating all of his ace and king highs, so I just proceed with a call. The river is about one of the best that I could ask for. It's a 3. I check it once more with the intention of calling whatever he bets, and Justin makes it $85. I stick to the plan and stick a chip in there, and Justin shows king high. Oh shit, No, he has 2 king highs. So yeah, that's pretty good. Nice hand, sir. We've been card dead for a while, so we need some energy. Leave a like on this video, and hopefully we pick up a premium. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Pocket aces on the straddle. A straddle is basically a blind raise, so not only is this a great hand, but damn it, this is great clickbait, baby. We blind raised and have aces. There are 3 limps to me. I make it $80. I don't even want to commentate over this because this is the best feeling in poker. Let's watch what happens.
Fuck it.
Oh, man. Wow.
Let's go.
Oh my god, of course, he did it with his heart. For the vlog.
For the fucking vlog.
For the vlog.
On a straddle.
Well, okay.
For the vlog. For oh my god.
Oh my god.
For the vlog.
Wow.
You got 2 cents?
Pocket tens.
Fuck it.
We flop a full house, and if that wasn't enough, we river a bigger full house. Like I said, poker's an easy game. Just make full houses and get paid. I don't really understand what the struggle's all about. Speaking of pocket tens, this first hand, the cutoff makes it $50. I 3-bet to 160. Cutoff calls. Flop is ace high. Cutoff leads for 175. And I fold. Next, under the gun makes it $30. I raise to 120, which is 4x since I'm out of position. Flop comes 7-3-2, all diamonds. I have 2 black 10s, and I make a mistake here. I check when I should realistically be betting $90, which is around a third. Anyways, as played, Justin checks it back, and the turn is a king of hearts. I check again, Justin bets 150, and I fold. Here we have ace-king offsuit. Under the gun makes it $25. I 3-bet to $80. The small blind cold calls, and under the gun calls, so that's a little weird. We go 3 ways to a flop, which comes jack 9-4. It checks to me. Normally I wouldn't bluff into 2 people here, but I have the range advantage, and there's a lot in the middle, so I'm not going to give up that easily. I fire out 1 bullet for $140. The small blind thinks for a while. Timmy, I strongly advise you, do not put any chips in the middle. It's not good for your financial future. It's a bad investment. Don't do it. Put your cards in the muck. Let's go! We get this one through, and under the gun follows suit shortly afterwards. If anyone called, I wasn't firing again on the turn, so I'm happy to take this one as is. There are a lot of small pots that I don't include that are just not really entertaining. For instance, I had queen jack in the cutoff. I made it $30 and the big blind called. It checked all the way to the river and we lost to ace high. There's a lot of hands where I open $25, $30, seep at the flop sometimes, and all of that stuff adds up. So we've lost probably 10, 15 pots tonight that I haven't included. Just figured I'd mention this to give you a more realistic picture of how a session actually goes. With that being said, under the gun raises to $30 and the small blind calls. I decide to flop my dick on the felt and 3-bet to $150. The under the gun thinks I'm sporting a micro and calls. The flop is not great. It's 8-3-2 with 2 hearts. So we have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw, which is a lot of poker jargon to say that we have ace high. I continue for $110 and he calls. The turn is a really bad card. It's the 3 of clubs. This is not a card that I want to continue barreling on because if I bet the flop and he calls and then the turn doesn't change anything, then if I bet again, he's most likely to call again. So I should realistically slow down and check here, but as played, I bet $450 and he calls again. The river is the 10 of spades. I don't think I want to put any more money in this pot, so I slow down and check, and he quickly checks it back. He flips over 4s, and it's good. Great call, man. He takes this one down. That was an expensive mistake. Our stack takes quite a hit, but we're still up over $1,000 on the night. In this next hand, we look down at pocket 9s in the cutoff. I raise to $25. The same player from last hand sends us an incoming threat message.
Sorry, brother.
Jesus, okay.
Fernando?
Just tell him sorry in advance.
The second out.
Sorry, brother.
The button 3-bets to 100, and I proceed with a call. The flop comes 8-7-5. I check it over to him. He c-bets $100, and I call. The turn is really interesting. It's the 10 of spades, giving us an open-ended straight draw. Now, my thought process here is I'm still losing to all overpairs like Jacks plus, but I'm still beating Ace King, Ace Queen, Ace Jack, King Queen, King Jack. A lot of stuff I'm still ahead of. In this spot, I actually think all three options have merit. I think calling, or check raising are all perfectly fine. In this spot, I put my opponent on 2 overcards, so I went into check call mode, but on this turn, he decides to check it back. The river is a 2. And now I think you could go either way with betting or check calling. I think I like a check call a bit more as played because I checked the flop and turn. I'll just play in flow and evaluate a river, but he quickly checks it back. We flip over our hand and we're good. The button had King 9 of spades. If he decided to bet the turn and face the raise, that would have been a really interesting spot. But as played, we take it down. In this second to last hand of the vlog, we look down at pocket 4s on the button. The cutoff raises to $50. That's a large sizing, sir. I go ahead and call, and the straddler comes along too. As if this night couldn't get any better, the flop is beautiful. King Jack 4. We flop bottom set. The cutoff continues for $75, and we are quite deep. The cutoff has around $1,500 behind. So I raise right away, trying to get as much money in the middle. I make it $250 to go, and only the cutoff calls. The turn is the ace of spades, and now the cutoff leads for $300 with around $800 behind. I go back and forth between a call and a jam. I think he's going to have a lot of 2 pairs here, but I guess it's also possible that we're behind aces, kings, and jacks. I don't think I'm ever folding here. If we get set over set, then I guess it's just my time to die. Use my chips to purchase a coffin and visit me in the morgue. I don't know what to tell you. I decide on a call, but I talked to Justin about this one, and he said he prefers a jam. And I think he's right, so I probably should have jammed here. The river just makes this whole situation worse. It's the 10 of spades. The cutoff checks. I don't see much value in betting now, so I check it back, and the cutoff shows A7, so we win. If we jammed that turn, I don't know if he would have called, but I definitely like getting the money in prior to that river card. Misplayed it. Maybe we lost some value. At least we won the pot. Alright, I think this is the best hand I've ever played on the poker vlog so far. So, setting the expectations, let's see if they hold up. We look down at pocket jacks and the straddle. First to act makes it $30, low jack calls, and the button calls. Action on to me. I want to isolate, so I make it $200. Surprisingly, only Justin in the low jack calls. We're going heads up to a flop, which comes queen 6-4, 2 hearts. Now there's an overcard to our pair, but I don't think Justin ever has a queen with how the hand is played out. I think if he had ace king, ace queen, king queen, he would 3-bet those. I don't really put him on any overcards. I think it's highly probable that he's on a lower pair or suited connectors, like 9-8 or 8-7. I see bet $200. And Justin makes the call. The turn is interesting. It's the 9 of clubs. Now we lose the pocket 9s, but does Justin really have pocket 9s here? I think he would raise that pre-flop, so I don't think we can put him on pocket 9s. 7-8 now turns an open-ended straight draw, and there's a flush draw on board. So should we continue betting to extract value from drawing hands, or should we check to pot control? Let's say that Justin did have a middling pair, like 7s or 8s. Would he even call another bet? If the answer is no, then there's really not any value in betting here. If we bet and we get raised, then what do we do? Throw up on the felt and fold? The pot's already at $900, and we're both sitting around $2,000. I sit on my action for at least a good minute and a half. I decide to pot control and check, and Justin checks it back. This signifies 3 things. He doesn't have a super strong hand, like 2-pair or set, because he would certainly be betting here to get more money in the middle. He either has a drawing hand and wants to realize his equity, or he already has showdown value. All of this is rolling through my head, and I'm feeling much better about my hand, until the river is the king of diamonds. Now there are 2 overcards to my pair. I don't think a bet accomplishes anything, because we only get called by better, all of the drawing hands easily fold, and all of his middling pairs will also just easily fold. However, I'm not really comfortable facing a bet here. I just want to get the showdown. I'd rather see this go check-check, but Justin has other plans. Justin fires for $375.
375.
Oh, that sucks. Fuck, man. Call it. It's like a I'm not even gonna pretend to interpret what I just said there. I'm speaking in pain in some intergalactic language. But what's funny is I did actually utter the words call. And I think I subconsciously wanted to call right off rip because I can't help but think that this king really doesn't change much. Or at least it shouldn't, in theory. Because how many kings or queens does Justin have here? He flatted twice pre-flop, and I don't think he does that with anything that contains either a king or a queen here. He checked back the turn, which means he doesn't have a set. I just don't see this as a value bet. I'm getting 3-1 on my call, so it's sized as a value bet, but what hands is he even betting for value? I'm gonna be honest, I'm still close to folding, because it's still a big size to me. I worked up a big stack, we're up money, and if we fold, we can minimize the damage this hand and still leave with a profit. Or, we can call this, be wrong, and lose a big percentage of the winnings for the entire night. We ran really well up until this point. Do I really want to throw it away calling down with third pair? What the fuck could it be? Yeah, give me 30 seconds.
No, I'll give him for real. I'll give him a minute.
That's fine.
The clock is officially called and the countdown begins. I must make my decision within the next 45 seconds. I start to get in my head and question my line of thinking. Am I ever good here?
I don't know how I'm ever good here. This is like a fucking donation. What the fuck do I beat you?
I don't think I can beat any of the hands he's betting here for value. This is a value bet, right? It has to be. Why?
Dude.
Big time.
Big time, big time, big time.
That's a fold in the book. Fold in the book right there.
Fucking.
How's this the one? Okay, tens are good. At eights, it's really good.
Justin, you sick. We take this one down, but Justin's a hell of a player, and I honestly just ran really hot tonight. That was the last interesting pot of the night, and not too long later, the game ended up breaking. So that brings an end to the hands. We were in the game for $1,000, out for $3,108 for a profit of $2,108. Yeah, I punted 2K the day earlier at Boston Billiards, so a much-needed recovery. I actually did make a good number of mistakes that I can still learn from and get better at, so I would never have been able to put the pieces together in that jack stand, you know, even 6 months ago, so I'm really happy that I was able to think that one through. That's pretty much all I got for you. Catch you next one. Peace.